So, Jono, a game that had it all. Red cards, yellow cards, and a last-minute winner. Just how do you begin to sum that one up?
Yeah, listen, we knew it'd be a tough game today. We knew it'd be tough. We set up in a certain way where when they had the ball in a certain area of the pitch, we allowed them to have the ball, wanted to show them into certain areas of the pitch. And at times it doesn't look pretty. And it's very hard for me and Byrne to sometimes justify being set up like that. But what we won't be doing is coming to a full-time Buxton at a full 21, 22-year-old full-time footballers on a plastic pitch and running around chasing after them. Sometimes you've got to be pragmatic and accept the game's going to flow in a certain way and stay in the game for as long as you can. The first half I thought was a non-event. We played a massive part in that. But in terms of the second half, we going down the slope, we felt we could build a little bit of momentum. And that's exactly what comes for when you think about the sending off. Came from us being on the front foot, Brad Jackson driving through Buxton, and the lad having to make the foul that he did, a denial of a goal scoring opportunity or whatever reason he sent him off. He was in on goal. We had to be patient, but it's very you feel good about yourselves as a coaching team when you've worked on something all week long and you get the rewards from it, and that's the justification side of it. So fantastic result. Listen, you don't need me to tell you that they're a top side, probably the best footballing team in the league by a country mile. What they probably lack at this moment in time is a little bit of experience, but that will come, through time. But they're a beautiful team to play against, and obviously the sending off helped us massively, didn't it? We make no secret of that. But what we did was, once they went down to 10 men, we smothered them. The space is open for them, which they don't like, and we used it really well. So really, really pleasing performance on top of a top result.
The key takeaway what I take from what you just said there is today it was about choosing our moments. Is that a fair sentiment?
Absolutely, yeah, and that applies to when we went to South Shields. So it's a very mirror image of that type of game. We're a good side at what we do, as you saw last week against Southport, as you saw what we did against Hereford. But sometimes when you do your homework on opposition, you have to respect the opposition and what they do, as well as what you're doing. And it's not something me and Byrne have been massive advocates of over the years of worrying about the opposition too much. But there was probably a little bit of naivety on all our parts earlier on in the season. And you have to, as I said, adapt and be a bit more pragmatic, and that's what it was. So you've just got to be patient. The lads had to be patient. As I said, there's some top footballers in that team that we've asked to be patient, and they all stuck to it.
Obviously, Tuesday night there was no game. Was there a worry that might affect your sort of team's ability to pick up the momentum that was generated from Saturday?
Yeah, that was a conversation me and Byrne had. But also, I think that rest did us the world of good. When you think about the injuries we've had this season and the lads that we've got coming back, it did us the world of good. We could have played Tuesday and won, and that momentum carries on today into today, but we'd have never known. So it's all hindsight. But I think the break did us good. It's now relentless again. Saturday, Tuesday for the next sort of, I think, 8 weeks. So that little break coming into this game, especially with them being full time, probably does the world of good, to be honest.
Certainly did, and the subs ultimately making the difference once again. Of course, Jude wins the free kick, Luca fires in the shot, and ultimately we know what follows from that. But how impressed were you, particularly with the subs' impact today?
Well, I think I talked about the subs. I think it was the Chester game. We spoke about the lack of impact from the subs, and I've pulled the subs, the lads who've been on the bench in training a couple of times, and said they've got to understand sometimes they've got to train harder than the other lads, because they're the lads that should be pushing the lads in the first 11. But the bench looks strong. It's full of game changers. Again, going back to what the game plan was and how we wanted to set up, knowing that you've got Luca Navarro, Judah Ebo, Harrison Wood, Anthony Dudley, Regan Rowell to come off the bench. There won't be many sides that can boast that type of quality to come off in this type of game. And how good is it seeing Jude back on the pitch, going past men, beating the man, getting us free kicks, and it allows us to build pressure. We have missed him so much, just like any team would with that type of player, because it allows you to get up the pitch and build pressure through free kicks and corners. Luca's getting back to his best after having a few horrendous months with injuries as well. He's now making massive impact when he's coming on, and they'll be knocking on the door soon, looking for starts as well. You look at Tunde. Tunde's not in the squad. That's not through injury. Tunde's having to wait his chance at this moment in time, and when we get him back to where we need him to be, it's another unbelievable bit of quality that we should have coming into the squad. So things are looking, touch wood, I don't like doing this because I've not been able to do it all season, but touch wood, the squad is starting to look towards full strength. No Ollie Thornley still out injured, which is a big loss, but it's starting to look something like what we hoped it would back in August.
Certainly. So we touched on sort of the attacking impetus that we possess. But looking at the defensive side of things, resolute from minute one once again.
Outstanding. We said at half time from Jordan as the number 9, the captain, all the way back to Mateus. We defended from the front. As I said, I've talked about being patient, no gaps, no holes, no spaces. But I think Rick and Brad Roscoe at centre half have been colossus over the last few weeks. Absolutely outstanding. And then when one of them, Brad has had to flip to full back, he's been outstanding there as well. Brad Jackson, I can't even put into words how good that lad's been, over the last sort of 6 weeks. And then obviously the mate at left back who just, what you're getting every single week with Scott. They've been fantastic, and it's good for them to get clean sheet because it's great winning. They'll celebrate as hard as the forwards, but that clean sheet gives that little bit of reward for what they've been putting through. And also, we've been able to put the same back 5 out, back 4 and goalkeeper for the last 2 or 3 games now. There's no fluke that you start to pick up results. Consider we've been to Kings Lynn and Buxton over the last 2 weeks away from home, both, hoping to get promoted and picking up 4 points from it. Shows you how well we've defended. It's a full team, it's a full squad, but in particular that back 5 have been unbelievable.
And then finally, our attention now turns to Tuesday night when we welcome Chorley back to the Newman Stadium. What are your early thoughts going into that one?
Be a different Chorley that we played at home. I think back to that game and they had Mark Ellis, Calverley both missing amongst. I think Adam Blakeman was missing. You could argue the 3 best players. They're all back. And now they've won something like 6 or 7 on the bounce, as normally happens with us. So they're the top side. They'll be pushing to win the league. We've got to try and perform in the manner that we did on Boxing Day against them before the game got abandoned. But we're under no illusions as a task with the squad and team that they've got back available to them now. So that's a tough game, a really tough game. But as I said, we beat Buxton today, who were just behind Chorley in the league. So we'll 2 on the bounce, we've won. You look at our form since the beginning of the year; it's been outstanding. I'm probably over-exaggerating that word. It's been good. But, yeah, there's plenty of momentum. 3 home games coming now, but we concentrate on 1 game at a time. Big game, bit of a derby. Hopefully there's a decent crowd on Tuesday night against Chorley. But a tough game, but dead looking forward to it, yeah.
Thank you, John.